This recording documents what I anticipate in the markets for the next 5 trading days. That is November 25 to November 29, 2024. It outlines what I am looking at, what I'm expecting, and what I will be doing depending on what unfolds in the market. So, as usual, I start my preparation looking at the economic calendar. I have recently added the New Zealand dollar to the list of assets that I monitor. So, you will see that now NZD news features on my economic calendar. A quick look at the calendar shows that there isn't much to anticipate this week, nothing that should send the market swinging wildly. There's no NFP, there's no CPI, there's no FOMC. But we do have a few red folder news events, which means that the market might have just the right amount of volatility. Monday doesn't really have anything. It's German IF for business climate. It's an orange folder news. So we can overlook that. We'll be trading CB, consumer confidence, doesn't really push the markets around that much, and it comes out, late in the day around London close, so there isn't much to worry about. Then during Asia session, of course, there will be New Zealand releases. I will not be trading at that time, so I can't be bothered. Then on Wednesday, I think probably the biggest one is unemployment claims for the US dollar, which is coming out. And then there's core PCE price index. So the only thing I would say about those is, try not to take a trade, especially a day trade, right before the news because they tend to just, a lot of time you see that the 15-minute candle when such news releases come out is just a candle that goes, neither here nor there, spikes in one direction, spikes in the other. And then over the course of the next few minutes, you might see some consolidation and then price resumes moving normally. Then FOMC meeting minutes, we all know that this isn't the big FOMC that we need to worry about. This is a very, very minor one that barely moves the market around. So all in all, there aren't really a lot of landmines to be wary of this trading week. So in and around the news releases, we can be taking trades, entering trades, holding our trades. Now I'll move on to the charts themselves to see what it is that they have to offer. This is what I'm looking at. So as usual, we start our analysis on the monthly. For the euro dollar, see that price traded into this monthly fair value gap that I had outlined here. Now, this chart isn't accurate. Forex.com has a glitch. Price did not close at the low the way it shows here. Price closed somewhere around here, around 1.04282. So price traded into the fair value gap but rejected a bit, still closed below this monthly low, but so it closed between the monthly low and the open of the fair value gap. That's where price closed for the week. I think the weekly shows it a bit better. Uh, okay, so even the weekly isn't showing it well. But anyway, this is what I am looking at. Now, price has traded. So if you go on the daily, price has now traded into this daily fair value gap. Let me go back to the weekly. Price has now traded into this monthly fair value gap and has started rejecting from it. For all intents and purposes, price is still bearish. And the monthly fair value gap, you see that the midpoint, the consequent encroachment of this monthly fair value gap has not yet been traded to. So there is still room for price to trade to the downside, maybe trade beyond the consequent encroachment. And then we will see if price intends to respect this monthly fair value gap and reverse price. I would say that price is due for a bit of a retracement because we've had look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 straight weeks of downward price action. So price is due, even if the trend is going to continue, and you see that this range, from here down to here, price has been trading inside this range for a while. So now that price has broken below the low of this range, we'll see whether price intends to reject violently and come back aggressively and come back into the range, or if it tends to just keep falling from here. Whichever the case, this is what I am looking at. I maintain a bearish to neutral posture until I see any of these things happening. Now, going into this week, I do not have a bias. I am not looking to take any trade in any direction. For me to continue trading bearishly, I will need to see on the daily. So now the weekly has created this fair value gap with this week's close. If I go back to the weekly, You see, this week's, or rather, last week's close has created this weekly fair value gap. There's another one sitting right on top of it, and then there are multiple fair value gaps in this huge range, naturally. If you go down to the daily, you will see that fair value gaps have also been created that have remained unmitigated. This one is open, this one is open, nestled inside a weekly fair value gap. And then there are also multiple 4 hourly fair value gaps in this range. What I want to see to take a trade is for price to create a new fair value gap in either direction. Now, I recognize that price has traded into a significant discount array, that is a monthly fair value gap, and I will not be shocked if I see price begin to trade outside of it. But for me to switch my bias to bullish, I will need a bit more confirmation. So I am not going to be placing a bullish trade until I see either a 4 hourly fair value gap or even better, a daily fair value gap form coming out of the range. So I want to see a bullish fair value gap. So if when the week opens, I see something like this, price begins to trade bullishly, and at the first higher time frame bullish fair value gap, I will start looking for long positions. So if I see a 4 hourly fair value gap created, let's say on Monday, or Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, create a daily fair value gap using the candle of Tuesday's, the body of Tuesday's candle, then I will start looking for long positions if price trades back into such a fair value gap. Now I will be looking to take longs until this weekly fair value gap, at least this very weekly fair value gap. Because if price is going to continue the bearish price action, this weekly fair value gap should be able to push price lower beyond this monthly fair value gap. But if price is going to disrespect this weekly fair value gap, then we might see other bearish fair value gaps and premium arrays begin to fail. For me to take a short trade, I would need to see another fair value gap going lower into this monthly fair value gap. So you see how Thursday's candle, this was it. Friday's candle was this huge candle. If Monday's candle trades lower still, then I will mark out the daily fair value gap. And if price trades into it, I will keep looking for shorts, because it means that although we traded into this monthly fair value gap, bearish order flow is still being respected. Now, I think it's important to note that I am not taking any trade until a new fair value gap has been formed, going in either direction. So if price, let's say, comes and trades into this fair value gap, right? This one has been used. That's why I took my trade on Friday. Let's say this 4 hourly fair value gap, price trades into here. I'm not taking a trade until I see a bullish fair value gap, preferably a daily form, then price trade into that new fair value gap. So no fair value gap that has already been created in price interests me now, just because of where we are trading from. Now, for me to know that, let's say there is a bullish move out of this fair value gap at the start of the week, for me to know that it is a reversal, that it signals the start of a reversal and not just a retracement, I would need to see this weekly fair value gap traded through and for price to close above it. That would mean that bearish order flow has finally started being disrespected and that bullish order flow is coming in. So that is to say that, let's say I do not get a trade Monday, maybe no fair value gap is created, maybe the price action is just stepping, right? Or maybe it creates fair value gaps and does not give me an entry. When price trades into this weekly fair value gap, yes, it is a premium array. Yes, it should act as resistance. I will not be looking to take a trade from this weekly fair value gap. I am simply looking to see what price does. So it is very possible I might not even have a trade this entire week. I'm completely fine with that. I want to see this weekly fair value gap. I want to see what price does when it gets there. So if price trades into it and then begins to fall off again, creating new daily or 4 hourly fair value gaps, then hey, we're still bearish, right? But if price trades to it, trades through it, and closes above it, then I will start buying whatever weekly, daily, or 4 hourly fair value gaps are created off of this range. So below this weekly fair value gap, if I see a 4 hourly or higher fair value gap trading out of this level, I might take a trade into and up until this weekly fair value gap. So this is my potential trading range for the coming week. This is all I'm looking at. If I see a bullish fair value gap, I will trade into this range. My target does not go beyond the low of this weekly fair value gap. If I see a trade and I take it and it plays out, as soon as we get here, I am neither looking to go short nor for me to take any kind of trade whatsoever. So that's what I'm looking at for my weekly outlook. And it's essentially the only thing I'm looking at for this entire week. I'll take a look at gold and see what gold has to offer. So similar situation on gold. Well, gold has now traded into a daily fair value gap. I'm not really interested in gold this week, to be very honest. I think it has shifted bullish, but there are so many premium and discount arrays that it's difficult to tell, what price is going to do. If I take a look at it on the weekly, let's see what the weekly looks like. Yeah, the weekly just has this massive engulfing. I would say potential next target is this all-time highs right here, this particular all-time high. I will see if price wants to trade to it. Now, with this kind of bullishness, I'm hesitating to take a trade. Let's see. So let's say price trades into this is the next. So let me draw it out. This is the next daily fair value gap that has been created. I don't really anticipate price trading lower, by because this was a huge move. Friday really rallied. It's unlikely that we'll see price trade all the way back down into this fair value gap just to continue. So I'll just observe gold primarily to see what it does. But hey, if for some reason, price trade is a little bearishly, maybe starts I need to see price form a low, a really visible low, a daily low or a 4 hourly low, something like this, right? If price does something like this and then takes out that low and trades into a daily fair value gap, then I will have more confidence taking a long trade from whatever fair value gap is traded into. But I would like to see a higher time frame swing point formed first. No swing point has been formed. You see, in the last week, price did not form a single swing point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just bullish price action, right? So I want to see a low formed. I want to see that low taken into a daily fair value gap. Then I might take a long trade on gold. Finally, what else did I want to analyze here? Pound New Zealand, it would essentially be the same analysis as on euro dollar. So pound hasn't really traded into any significant point. So if there's bullish price action, I'd rather take and I see, let's say, a bullish trade on the pound, I'd rather take that trade on the euro dollar because I know that price is trading from a monthly fair value gap on that asset. And then for the New Zealand dollar as well, let's see if price has traded into any significant points on the monthly. So let's take a look at the monthly and see. So nothing significant on the monthly. This low has still not been taken. So this tells me that there may still be room to the downside for the New Zealand dollar, meaning that price might yet trade into the consequent encroachment of the monthly fair value gap on euro dollar. That said, if I start seeing bullish price action on euro dollar, then I'll start potentially looking to take long trades until the first weekly fair value gap has been reached. That's it. That's what I'm looking at for this week. It's very possible I might not get any setups. I might not get any entries this week because price is at an inflection point. So it's important for me to observe what price does. And if it takes me an entire week to just look at what price does so that I have more confidence going into maybe the week after so that I can trust the trades that I take, then so be it. There's no